Hi, folks. Welcome to another edition of Vendor Spotlight. Today's guest is Jack Huntress. He's with HomeBinder. Hello, Jack.
Hey, good afternoon, Gary. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Tell us a little bit about you and HomeBinder.
Well, as you said, my name is Jack Huntress. I'm in my 40s. I live just outside of Boston. I've got two young kids. For the last 20 years, I've been in residential and commercial real estate. I had a previous business doing phase one report writing software. So for any of you inspectors out there that have been touched by, phase ones, that was my life. I was a geologist, environmental consultant, and we built a piece of software in my consulting practice to support those transactions whereby the report was all done online, kind of like some of today's platforms for inspection report writing. And we sold that business to a company called EDR, which is kind of like the Kleenex brand of environmental data. The typical radius map search where you type in an address and you get to know all the contaminated sites all around it.
Right.
And they probably end up in, 85+% of the phase ones nationally. So I started to get exposure to the residential market, and this is in the mid 2000s. And they had a product they were selling to home inspectors. And the product was called the Neighborhood Environmental Report. And hopefully there's at least a few people on this listening to the podcast that's familiar to them.
Yeah.
And the idea was simple. I mean, shouldn't a homeowner know if there is a contaminated site around their property?
Right.
I mean,
that's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, think about Aaron Brockovich, a civil action.
Right.
People daily are affected by contaminated soil, water, and air. And we thought that we had a great idea, great report. And in fact, 1,700 home inspectors across the country agreed. But after 5 years, we had 73 using the product. Out of 1,700.
What happened?
The number one reason why they stopped using the product was the real estate agent. The agents told them, if you offer one more of those reports with your inspection, you will not get any work from me.
That's wild.
And it was a learning curve for me, but I got to know a lot of the inspection firms around the country at the time. I learned a lot more about the residential transaction process, RESPA laws. But about that time, Gary, I went to look at homes with my then fiance, and we looked at probably a dozen homes. But we walked into this one particular home, and on the kitchen table was an 8-inch stack of literally everything about the home.
Stuff.
Down to paint colors by room.
Yes, stuff. House stuff. Yeah.
Stuff. Like, warranties, manuals, the tile they used in the bathroom. And I flipped through that while my now wife did the tour of the home, found it incredibly engaging, and we ended up buying that home. And I still have that today. I still use some of it today. But I would point to that moment as really the genesis for HomeBinders. I said, 5 million homes transact a year.
Right.
And in general, the new buyer, really all they get is the keys to the home. They don't get the operational manual, how to drive it.
Yeah,
and,
right. Sure.
This was my third home, if you will, having had, condo, another home, this one. I knew all too well that my first year was just going to be a series of stumblings as I got up to speed with how the sump pump worked and how this water softening system worked and where the wellhead was and the filter size for the central air, on and on, this detail about homes that effectively every owner starts at zero. And they build up their knowledge over time. They go to sell the home and the next owner starts at zero all over again. And that's insane to me.
So the manuals were there. You just had to cipher through them and search through them each time you had some particular thing that was going on. And if the manuals changed, or if you install something new, you had to add another manual to that stack, which just increased the size of the stack.
Yeah, and as things got out of date, it started to get cluttered, and as I had a need for that information when I was out and about at the hardware store, at a big box, Home Depot or Lowe's, I didn't have that information
So the
at my
information
fingertips.
wasn't mobile, right? Yeah,
Right. And it didn't talk to me. If I had an appliance recall, or if I had been 2 years since I pumped my septic tank, that pile of paper isn't going to talk to me at all. It's just going to sit there.
right.
Electronic systems can do that today. So that was I think the point that I looked at in my life and said, there's something here. And I got the band back together. Some of the same guys that we had developed the phase one report writing system for. We started doing some coding around 2012, 6 years ago now, putting the basic building blocks together. And at the same time, we realized, homeowners need some help. And I knew quite a bit about the home inspection market at that point from my experience at EDR. And it sure seemed like there was a marriage here.
Yeah, natural progression there. Yeah, yeah,
Who
interesting.
who knew more about the home? Who was the most trusted person there? Who was involved in the transaction? And the home inspector checked all those boxes. And so once we had the product up and running, we started to talk with a few inspection companies around the country that I had come to know, and really started to, in some ways, kind of flip the script on the issues I had had with real estate agents with the EDR report.
Right.
Instead of fighting the system, like, let's put something together that's good for the inspector, good for the real estate agent, good for the buyer and the seller, and let's sit right at that intersection and try to help all involved.
So as you, how long did it take you to put that together, the idea, the seed thoughts, and you'd studied on it for 6 months or a year or so and began to roll it slowly? HomeBinder.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, the idea, that we were looking for houses in 2008. We didn't do anything until 2012. So, I mean, I think there was a 4-year period there where it just sort of kept kicking around in my head. It took us about a year and a half to get the product up and running to the point that it was usable. But really the progress since that point has been trying to drive out all the inefficiency in the process by integrating with the likes of ISN and Horizon and Home Inspector Pro, so that the process for the home inspector is not wasteful or redundant or prone to user error because of retyping of data, which I am just vehemently against.
Absolutely.
Electronic systems today shouldn't require that. So once we had those in place about 24 months ago or so, about 2 years ago, we had a whole stable of integration options, is really when the business of HomeBinder started to accelerate. And now we're setting up north of 10,000 homes a month all over the country in all 50 states and in most of the Canadian provinces, and really excited about not just what we've done, but where we can go. And part of this conversation today can talk a little bit about
Sure.
the bigger part of our vision, because
Right.
HomeBinder is a lot more than a digital 3-ring binder. It's where we start our description, but it's certainly, and as you know, Gary, only really a fraction of kind of the vision of what we're trying to do.
So you mentioned earlier that the homeowner needs some help. So you see that HomeBinder providing that the hand in the glove kind of help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're observing and watching both directly and indirectly a generation of millennial buyers that is probably the least equipped and least knowledgeable to manage homes of any generation. And I see a huge gap between my age and my brother. We're only 6 years apart. But when I was a kid, there was basically Little League and not a lot else. He experienced kind of going to every single birthday party for every kid in his class, soccer on the weekends, just a very highly scheduled life. And that was just over 6 years. I went to college, no Facebook, no email, no cell phones. He went to college, all that stuff existed.
Yeah.
And it's kind of remarkable how different our experiences were. and only separated by a few years. I puttered with dad on the weekends, and
Right.
I think that puttering today doesn't occur. You look at the way that kids are structured with their family life. It's go, go, go all weekend. You don't just sit around the house doing stuff.
So the expectations change as well. When uh, I have noticed that in my experience is that the expectations are faster. It seems like that life comes at you much quicker and much faster, and the demands of a homeowner, I could understand how that they're accustomed to getting their information and being tended to, so to, as for lack of a better term, um, in a much more proactive. They expect you to be nursed rather than taking it upon themselves. So, is it a process of teaching a homeowner? Do you see HomeBinder as an aid in helping them learn more about how to manage their home maintenance and their home care?
Yeah, I think, the true answer is all of the above, Gary. I mean, I think that, we have to kind of acknowledge who people are and that everybody's different. What I mean by that in a little more detail is that I've never believed that we would just expect that homeowners would keep their home binder up to date. We don't behave the way that maybe we should in our personal life, in our professional life, with our fitness, with our finance. Like, we're people at the end of the day. We need help. That's why financial advisors exist. And that's why we rely on professionals like mechanics and doctors to give us an annual physical. But at the same time, there are people that are DIYers. There are people that will do some things if given the right process or information at the time they need it. That's why we just published basically a new homeowners guide where a lot of that information gets packaged and delivered out to the homeowners.
Right.
But our bigger thing here, I think, as in line with what you just kind of said and observed about today's owner, today's buyer, is that there's a lack of not only knowledge but interest. I want somebody else to worry about it. I want somebody else to take care of it. And to that end, our annual property review, which just, annual home inspection concept, we think the time has come for that. And I know there's a history across the industry of having thought about it and tried it for 20 years. And I've been in a number of contentious, if not heated, debates with inspectors, inspection business owners that really get quite heated about this topic because they've only seen it fail.
And you're talking about the topic of an annual review where a home inspector would come back and revisit the home on an annual basis or on a more timed basis. If not, like you say, some folks they're more proficient. So you have a DIYer that might not need you there every year. They might be every couple of years or a year and a half, every 18 months. So that's an annual property review.
Yeah, that's the way we think about it. And to use the doctor, mechanic, financial advisor analogy, isn't it kind of weird that we take our body to a doctor, our car to a mechanic, our teeth to a dentist, have a financial advisor help us with finances? And yeah, not everybody does, but the vast majority of people do. Some people feel comfortable doing it themselves, but those industries exist for a reason. But yet, isn't it strange that for the single largest investment that most people will make in their life, since the moment they purchased it, no one has come back to tell them whether it's performing good or bad or sundry, and nobody's helping give them a punch list of how to maintain it and do it better to preserve the value of that asset.
On a regular scheduled maintenance schedule, like a calendar date, right?
Yeah, they're just sort of leaving everything to chance, and they, largely are reactive in their home ownership.
Yeah.
And the time has come for this. That I feel confident about it. I will tell you, now a year and a half or so into the process of talking with inspectors and, working towards annual property reviews, being part of what people do, being very frank, inspectors are their own worst enemy on this topic. And I think part of it is because of protecting themselves from a liability standpoint and being efficient in what they do today. But because of those two reasons, they've honed their brain and their practice to optimize for the home inspection. An annual property review is a whole different animal. It's a different scope. There's no real estate agent involved. It's for the purpose of owning the home, not buying the home. Cosmetic items can be talked about. Improvements can be talked about. Things like a smart home thermostat, removing a tree out back, power washing the deck, cleaning the windows, things that you would never bring up in a home inspection. One, because they're not in scope, but two, because you'll probably upset the real estate agent.
Right.
All that stuff, however, is on the table with the annual property review. And having been in the field with inspectors trying to do these for the first time, I really watch them stumble. All these things they're just looking at and totally missing because their brain is oriented more like, I got to find safety items, deficiencies, and deferred maintenance. That's what they think about. They don't think about ways to optimize, improve the curb appeal, the usability, the air quality of the home, like things that need to be brought to the table to maximize the value that inspectors really know but haven't applied in this particular way.
Almost like a doctor's house call.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of firms have called these healthy home checkups in the past. To me, that's selling it a little bit short even. That's why we just like the term property review because it just is more inclusive of everything from safety to health issues to improvements to whatever.
So if you're providing a property review, you're the reviewer and the reviewee.
Mm-hmm.
There are, instead of the inspector and the client, or is the terminology different?
We avoid the word inspector everywhere, Gary. We think for a variety of reasons, we want to adopt the term reviewer. And although we've had a couple of states such as Louisiana and Kentucky, their boards look at what we're doing and saying, yeah, this falls totally out of the jurisdiction of a home inspection because of the fact that this isn't for a home resale. The title of the home is not changing hands. The whole purpose of the regulations in that industry is that people don't buy lemons or get caught up in RESPA laws around collusion.
Right. So that was going to be one of my next questions is has this been tested at the state level? What's been the feedback to have a potential licensed individual who may or may not have provided an inspection revisits the home and offers suggestions for repairs? I know in Mississippi that's a little bit of a challenge. Sure. I haven't called them to talk to them about it personally. Most of the folks that follow this webinar series understands that I do home inspections as well, and we haven't checked it at the state level. So that is I'm definitely going to be keeping my ears to the track to see how the states respond to this new business model, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, again, these aren't formal rulings, but both people on the board in Louisiana, Kentucky, and we'll I think be floating this by Texas soon, which are some of the more onerous states in the country. They understand that this is not work being done for the purpose of a property resale, and as such would fall outside of
standards of practice and code of ethics. Practice, yeah, right. Interesting stuff. So I'm going to float a question that a inspector has knew that we were coming in and wanted to ask a question. So I'm going to just throw one out to you. How does HomeBinder make inspectors an indispensable asset to real estate agents? And how can we leverage it in terms of bringing them additional leads?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we have certainly tried to optimize the platform for this relationship between the inspector and the real estate agent. So let me just describe the basic kind of concept here, and then I'll tell you how we're building upon that. So the idea is that inspectors can co-brand effectively the HomeBinder platform when they set up HomeBinders for their clients. This means that the site itself, when the homeowner logs in, they're seeing both the agent and the inspector. This means when an email goes off, like time to pump your septic tank, time to sweep your chimney, time to clean your gutters, it's co-branded side by side with the agent and the home inspector. Therefore, you're helping them manage, their referral network. The tool itself is meant to be, a way that the inspector can market to millennial clients, both directly by saying, hey, if you come with me, I'm going to give you an app to manage your home. Isn't it strange? There's not an established app for home management. Again, the largest asset thing that people buy in their life. Here's HomeBinder. In fact, we found that today's buyers actually just expected it to be there. We had to stop our whiz-bang marketing here because they just looked at it like they shrugged their shoulders and said, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't this be here? There's an app for everything. I would expect that I would get this with my home transaction. If it wasn't there, I'd think that was weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've changed our marketing around that a little bit. And telling agents that, listen, if I am understanding that millennial buyers need and want different things. And I'm the guy you go to because I'm doing things to stay relevant with what they need. And you'll be better off because I'm going to also help market your business. When I think about HomeBinder being indispensable, I think about kind of the direction we're going and how our goal is to deepen the relationship between the inspector and the homeowner through this APR. This idea that the inspector is coming back with that homeowner on an annual basis. And as such, the agent now starts to rely on the home inspector to know about what's going on in the area and who might be selling homes. Think about it. If you were the inspector and you've been in on that property every year for the last 10 years doing an APR or some form of an annual home inspection, who's going to know that that property is going for sale?
And the condition of the property too. You could vouch for some formal or informal condition of the property for sure.
Yeah, you'll be able to provide information leads to agents when this seller says, hey, I want to sell, and you can say, hey, I know a good real estate agent.
So in terms of generating revenue, how does HomeBinder generate additional revenue for a home inspector's business?
Yeah, so we're always trying to provide different add-on services. So out of the gate, we have some inspectors that are actually charging for HomeBinder. They built it into their fee, or they added on top of a a la carte service.
There you go.
Charging up to $25 per HomeBinder. I mean, the street value of what you're giving them is $36 a year for life. So the street value of what you're giving that homeowner is $360. And to add on the 10 or 20 bucks when we're only charging $2 or $3 per inspection, right out of the gate, there's an ability for inspectors to make money off of the HomeBinder product. In addition, we've added in other services like BuildFax, where the inspector can get a building permit report and resale that up on to make additional revenue. And we're working on other things like a company called Repair Pricer, which to me is a wonderful business because this company has realized that really what inspectors are doing at the end of the process is they're walking up to the front door, dropping an inspection report on the seller, on the buyer or the agent, and saying, good luck, see ya, and walking away. Now you've given them a whole list of problems and no solutions. And Repair Pricer is offering that tool as a third party to walk through the whole report, pull costs in for every item identified. You, the inspector, are insulated from it. You don't have to know it. And then the agent and the buyer now have a report that they can make use of and start to get into the negotiation and or the repairs.
Is that something like Porch's thing that they're trying to do?
I think to some degree it's like Porch. I just look at Repair Pricer as just, a highly optimized, efficient, utility.
Right.
Utility that you'd want to have just like electricity in your business. This is what they do. They don't worry about the repairs. They don't worry about the connection to pros. They really focus on just getting the numbers 99% accurate so that everybody feels very comfortable that they can work off these numbers for the negotiation and for getting the work done down the road. But the big one, Gary, the big one here in terms of growing the inspector's business and where we're really, I think, most aligned is around the annual property review. It's that the needs of today's home buyer, how the inspector would benefit if they had hundreds of recurring customers coming back, and strategically what's important for EDR, which is for HomeBinder, which is keeping these binders updated and the homeowners engaged. Because
right.
we never believed we could totally rely on the homeowner. So it's at that intersection, and growing inspectors' businesses whereby over maybe a 5-year period of business, they could be doing as many of these as they are of traditional home inspections. And think about the enterprise value that adds to an inspector's business. In today's world, your calendar is blank 3 weeks out and beyond. In the world I see, $50,000, $100,000 of revenue for the upcoming year is already booked. It's already there. You just got to go do it, and it's
almost like a subscription base.
Totally.
Yeah.
And we all know that subscription businesses trade on many multiples over transactional-based businesses. And I think for older inspectors that are thinking about retiring in the coming 5 to 10 years, you really have to take a hard look at what you built. Because I've talked to a number of multi-inspectors who've been approached by single inspectors saying, hey, listen, why don't you buy my business? And they look at it and they say, what am I buying? I'll pay you $5 or $10 grand for your business, for your list, and that's about it. But your $150,000 of revenue, there's nothing there. There's nothing for me to buy.
So what are they buying? The phone number.
They're buying the phone number. But if you have 100, 200, 500 previous clients that are coming back to you every year, that's almost guaranteed revenue. And
right.
People will trade on that, and you won't get $5,000 or $10,000 for your business. You'll get a multiple of your revenue. And I think a lot of inspectors that are in that twilight period of their career, this hasn't come across their radar. They have not thought about it. And the reason I say that is because I know a number of them who are really upset to the point that friendships have degraded because they tried to sell to a multi-inspector who they thought there was a friend. Their CPA told them they should be able to get 150 grand for their business, and now they've got nothing. And they've realized that their business is worth nothing. And that's, for anybody that's been in business for 20 or 30 years and can't sell their business for more than $10,000, that's a tragedy.
That's disheartening, yeah.
That is really disheartening.
Yeah.
And I don't think inspectors have really grasped that. That to me is like the elephant in the room or the sleeping giant in the corner that people across the industry have not really thought about enough.
Right.
I truly believe that. And I'm watching it happen as like a train wreck in front of me as I talk to inspectors out there quite often.
So you're able to scale up. Obviously, things are going well. You're in all 50 states. Tell us about the size of HomeBinder. What's your employee base? How many of you are back there pushing buttons and twisting knobs?
So there's 6 of us on the team. And we kind of have all the boxes checked. We have Jerlyn and Jim running the software. We've got Greg running operations. We've got Riley running marketing, Alec running sales. I'm sure hopefully a lot of your folks have seen Alec and his videos, the guy in the truck videos. He's done a wonderful job for us, really getting out there, talking to inspectors, finding out ways in which we have to and can improve the product. And I just sit back, wave my arms, and rely on a team to do all the work.
So you're going to be coming up. Where are you headed? What's next for you? Internachi is as a thing in March.
Yeah, so we've got, we were just at the ASHI show down in Orlando in January. On Monday and Tuesday of next week, we'll be in Dallas for the Mastermind Inspection Community, the Mike Crow Group. We always value the folks there and the relationship with Mike. It's a great opportunity to talk to those folks. We'll certainly be in Atlantic City in a couple of months for the Internachi show, and excited about that event. And we'll be doing some smaller regional events around the country of various ASHI chapters, and certainly hopefully looking forward to the ISN show. I think later this year, as they try to alternate that every other year, and I believe this will be an on year for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's important, it's a really interesting industry, Gary, in the sense that it's so highly fractured, right? I mean, the very largest franchise system in the inspection marketplace has 4% market share. That's kind of a misnomer, because all the franchise offices in general can kind of choose and make their own decisions. So to that end, you've got nobody owning more than 1% of the market. And 4 or 5 million home inspections a year, and really it's a market where we need to and try to be in as many places as we can, because of the challenge of reaching people at scale. It's just a different market in that way. Facebook marketing has been great for us, but I think I can speak for all the team members that in person at the trade shows are the things that we really love the most, both to say hi to our existing customers, and talk to new people about our vision, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, educating the marketplace in the process.
So online, what is the best way to get attention? Someone's interested. Where should they go? They want to contact you once they're in the part of the HomeBinder family and are able to log in. I noticed that there's a chat module there that they can get immediate help if they have some issue. But reaching out to you, what's the best way to contact the HomeBinder system?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, I mean, there's always support at homebinder.com as an email. There's our phone number, 800-377-6915. There's the chat. And, I would give you Alec's direct email and my direct email, Alec, ALEC, at homebinder.com, and Jack at homebinder.com. We welcome comments anytime, and, really try to be really hands-on, especially at the beginning. It's very important that we configure and set up HomeBinder such that it maximizes the value for that particular market. And that means setting up a maintenance schedule that's really relevant for, say, your folks in Mississippi, or folks here in Massachusetts, or people on the West Coast. I happen to have private wells and septic tanks around me. So maintenance has some different elements there around water testing and pumping a septic tank. We really want to get that right. We want to make sure that the branding is set up the way the inspector wants it. But the great news is that because of these integrations, it can be really automated, so that once it's running, it kind of runs in the background with just a clicking of a button here and there to keep it operational for your business. And that's really where we want to spend more time with inspectors down the road, is helping them, get out there, market their business, and shout from the rooftops, if you will, that, hey, we got HomeBinder, and it's cool for all these reasons. And this is why it's going to help the generation of buyers today that maybe need a little extra nudge. Expect that electronic system would talk to them through their home ownership, and desire the idea that they get some reminders in the process.
Fantastic. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you, folks, for tuning in, and we'll see you online.